Hi Dills, hi Heartless, and hi everyone listening. My name's Tom, and I'm from Liverpool in the UK. I'm a dog walker, and I'm currently out with Lucky, Callie, and Jake, wherever he is. I can't see him right now. Um, my account name is McBonzo. He's a main account, but I just wanted to say, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job. You're keeping me entertained while I'm out braving the elements. Thanks for the podcast and keep it up.
Welcome to episode 208 of the Wilderness Podcast. I am your host, Dills, and we're flying solo this week. Me and Heartless, we got into a huge fight. I've actually recorded it. We're going to play it a little bit later on in the episode. But then we made up, and then he got sick, so he wasn't able to make it this week. I'm just kidding. We didn't actually get into a fight. He just was sick. Can you imagine? That'd be a crazy episode. We just scrapped it out on an episode, and then we had to bring it to the wilderness, right? And we had, because that's like true to the name. We had to duke it out. Oh God, this episode's off to a good start, isn't it? All right, we got some fun stuff to talk about. I feel like I've been saying that a lot recently. There has been a lot of fun stuff happening. You know, we complained a lot in 2001 because there was not a lot of fun stuff to talk about. I mean, we all know it was quite slow. We didn't get too many updates, and the updates we did get were not great. We got an equipment rebalancing that a lot of people didn't like. That was like to the extent of it. That was like the most meaningful update. But 2022 has been shaping up. Let's be honest, we're like, halfway through 2022. Things are looking a lot better, actually. We've had some cool things come out, and we've got some more things coming out, which is fun. You might be asking, like, what sort of things came out this week? Well, we got a dev blog again talking about Giants Foundry, because you know how we like to do it. Well, not so much we like to do it, but RuneScapers collectively, we're pulling in Jagex too. We're one big happy family in this. We love to talk about the same updates over and over and over again, making little tweaks here and there. But the Giants Foundry did get some tweaks, some positive tweaks as well. They've kind of increased a bunch of different stuff. It's kind of vague, but they increased a bunch of different areas of this activity, this mini game, the skilling boss, whatever you want to call it. Don't call it a skilling boss because it's not really a skilling boss. Group Iron Man got some changes, and there is a group Iron Man event coming out, which is interesting. It's like a competition. It's called the Group Boss Bash, which is basically going to be a competition on who can shred the most bosses. And there's actually some rewards giving away. So that's interesting. Trying to bring life to the group Iron Man scene, which I wonder if it's because they've seen a massive drop off in players since it first came out. I'm sure they have. That's kind of predictable, but we'll get into it. We'll get into it. And we got the equipment rebalance tier. That's why I brought it up earlier. We got a poll blog talking about, that was a weird title. We got a poll blog talking about the equipment rebalancing. So we finally saw a bunch of items move around in the tiers that they've been placed in. Again, something we've kind of talked about for a real long time. I remember back when Deegan, who was used to co-host a show with me like years ago at this point. Holy shit. Wow. That's weird to say. And we had talked about how it's weird where every item just sat in this tier 75, which is like everything required level 75. And it was very strange. You had the blowpipe and then you have the T-bow. And I mean, at the time, the blowpipe was really good in a lot of spots, but the T-bow, when the T-bow was good, it was so much better than the blowpipe was. And then you had like the Grazi rapier, and the T-bow was on a whole nother level than that. So they went back and they kind of tweaked some things, and we finally saw that come out. We're going back almost a year when they first pitched that. But on top of that, we got a whole whack of other cool stuff, including some clue scroll changes, Rune Light being further integrated into Jagex and RuneScape altogether, Deadman mode, reruns, game jams, all that fun stuff. And lastly, the PvP Discord opened up. Not so much opened up, but they finally enabled specific players the ability to chat and discuss, and they gave them a 24-hour window to talk about what they think the wilderness and PvP needs to, I guess, flourish going forward. So it's been interesting to see a bunch of different people discuss where the direction like the PvP should go and the direction the wilderness should go, what the wilderness needs, what is it lacking, what some sort of armors does PvP need. Everyone especially when PvP, people are very, very divided. I mean, we've been talking about it for like 4 or 5 episodes in a row now about like everybody wants something different, but you really see it. Everyone's got all these different ideas. Some of them I would disagree with, some of them I would agree with, and other ones like, it's really all over the place. So yeah, PvP is very hard. It's tough to get right. And I think that's why we see it dying in a lot of games. Like RuneScape 3, it has like fully died. Anyways, yeah, we'll get into all that fun stuff. So it has been quite an eventful week, but how we like to start off each show is kind of do what I call like a pre-show, the pre-show warm-up, even though it's like a big chunk of the show, and just talking about kind of what I have been up to. I feel like I have, I'm really all over the place in general. I'm like this in general in my life. I tend to like get really into specific things for a short term, a short period. And then I kind of either drop it or I realize like I just am unable to continue to keep it up. So I do this with hobbies a lot, right? I want to get into so many different hobbies and I just don't have the time and I don't have the money usually. But when I get into them, I like go all in, which is it's expensive. I remember I got into paintball and I like bought full uniform. I got like the jerseys and stuff. I had to get 2 different guns, right? I need my bush ball gun, which was like for the more like quote unquote military sim. And then I needed I think it's speedball. That's what it's called, right? Speedball. It's been a long time since I paintballed, but I had to get my speedball, which is like a sport. It turns it into an actual sport. So it gets a little crazy. And it's why I like have to make the decision to not get into things that interest me. Like I've wanted to get into this hobby, this game called Warhammer. And people call it plastic heroin is what people call it because of how expensive it is. And what it is, it's basically like an RTS, right? We know a lot of RTS games like StarCraft, and I saw a Dune game came out recently, which looks kind of cool. But, Age of Empires, all those type, Warcraft, right? Those sort of games. Warhammer is like if you made an RTS, but it was a tabletop RTS that you could physically play. And so I go to this hobby shop to buy like Dungeons and Dragons stuff and board game stuff and Magic the Gathering stuff now, which I've had to slow down on because I was like, I don't have the money or time to get super into Magic. It's so expensive. But I see people playing this Warhammer game there, and it's like you have these figurines, and they all look really cool. And as I'm talking about this, I'm like, maybe I'll just go spend like $80 on a starter kit. But you create these armies that you buy. You can buy these armies, just from a retail store, and then they each have these different stats, and there's like a point system so that you can have, you have like X amount of points to allocate for your army, and you might choose to have a bunch of minions to do like a rush of. You have a bunch of creatures, and you do a big rush attack, or maybe you have these like big creatures that are really strong, but they take up a lot of points. You have these giant tanks or whatever it is, and it's like a deep game, and it's like I get super interested when a game is like maybe not super complex, but it's like very deep. Like there's a lot going on, and I mean like what I get interested is I see there's all these like books on Warhammer, and I'm ignoring the whole universe of Warhammer. I'm ignoring the video games, the books, like the novels. I'm ignoring all that stuff. I'm just talking about the tabletop game. And they have these books because each race there's all these different races, and then there's different type of army builds, and each race has their own book. And not only does it tell you about the game, but it tells you about the lore of that race and all that sort of stuff. And there's this huge, deep world, and I like get glimpses of it, and I'm like, shit, I want to do that. Looks cool. I want to get that. And then the next thing you know, I'm looking at different measuring tape because you need to get good measuring tape to like figure out how much distance you can cover and stuff. Anyways, it's pretty crazy. But I hear that stuff and I get so excited. I'm like, that sounds so awesome. But then I remember I was talking to one of the guys at the stores, and he was like, the best bang for your buck is you go in with someone else. So you and somebody else go 50-50 on the starter kit. It's going to run you a couple $100, like $200-$300 but you will both have an army. You can split it, and then you can face each other. And I was like, that's a lot of money to figure out to like find out if I like it or not. That's pretty crazy. That's like buying a PlayStation 5 to figure out if you're going to enjoy video gaming. So, and then I make the choice not to do it, but it sounds cool. And then there's this whole part where you have to paint your miniatures, but the miniatures need to be at least three different colors, and they need to be painted well. If you like sloppily paint them, they like won't be accepted into tournaments. So they have to be, I don't know how hard they get examined, but I just mean you actually have to try. So you have to get those, those like monocles where it has like 17 different lenses, put that on and you like paint all that. It sounds fun. It sounds like a good time, but I don't got time to get into that. So I'm like that with RuneScape as well. As you can tell, I get like really like pulled. I want to do this, and it happens a lot. I talk about it on the podcast. If someone's been listening, episodes over maybe a longer period, you might hear that like every now and then I'm like, I have all these different accounts that I jump around on, and even on my main, I get like rushes of motivation to do something specific. I have like a rush to be like, oh, I want to do my combat achievement tasks. Oh, I want to do a bunch of PVMing. I want to get good at PVMing. Oh, I want to max my account. I want to get a lot of fashionscape stuff. Like I'm kind of all over the place with it. But I think it's because I get so excited for specific things in this game. And then I just dive into it and I spend a couple weeks just focusing on those goals. And then usually, this game can be quite intense in their grinds. And either I fall off or it falls down. It's not a priority in my list of to-dos. And like, so my most recent one that I'm just, the last motivational rush that I got pushed into was maxing my account. I kind of have this like, I kind of want to work towards maxing again. So I've been kind of doing a lot of skilling on the side and all that stuff. But I recently got started getting bored because it's such a long grind. I'm almost 90, like halfway to 97 mining. I'm at 97 prayer. Those are the two skills I was working on. And it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? You really have to kind of take things slow. And at least for me, right? Everyone's good. Some people like to rush it, right? There's a whole community of people who not only get 99 in a skill, but then they go ahead and get 200 mil and they want to get as fast as possible. That's not really my angle about it. I'll take things slow because when I get 99 in a skill, sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I was looking forward to another level up, because while I'm doing Slayer or while I'm doing bossing, it was always kind of fun to see when the next level was coming, like how far away it was. You can still kind of do that with experience, right? You can, when am I going to get 15 mil experience? When am I going to get 20 mil experience? But not quite the same. So I've been taking it a little bit slower. And I had this push to get back to get good at PVM, and that's my next push. It comes and goes, right? But I'll play with people who are so good at this game that I watch them kill shit and do stuff, and it's impressive. They're like running circles on me while they're like destroying this boss, and stuff like that is like super motivating. That like we often think that this game, the skill ceiling might be a little bit lower. But you see someone who's really good at this game and you're just like, I don't know, it's crazy. So my point here is that like I just jump around on a bunch of different tasks. This can be another thing where I'm like, this is what's awesome about RuneScape. But like, I often take a step back and I have to like really appreciate this game. It like does things so well that it blows me away. And some of it's not even intentional. So like, I can hop around on all these different goals and it's still fun. The change of pace of this game is like all over the place. If I'm PVMing or PvPing, or if I'm skilling, or if I'm and those are like the three main pillars. I always consider the three main pillars, but there's so many things in between, right? We have all these skilling activities and quests and mini games, and there's different levels of PVMing, and now we have like hard modes too on top of like raiding. There's like hard modes and there's combat achievements, which is a step above it, or I should say combat tasks. It's so all over the place, and I think that's why this game flourishes so much, because we can play this game over and over and over again, doing the same shit over and over and over again. But it's really fun when you've done it like 10 times. It reminds me of like when I play Skyrim. Because when I'll play Skyrim from time to time, or like Fallout 4, or a bunch of these different games where you can kind of, it's sandboxy in the sense that you can build your character a specific way, and with add-ons and all this and these different mods, you can really have a different experience even though you're doing the same content again. With Skyrim, you don't have to play as a Dragonborn. We've all played Skyrim at this point, I assume. You could play it again, and there's mods that I would play where you can choose a new starting mode, and instead of being a Dragonborn and going through that whole opening where you're on that cart, you could be like a fisherman, or you could be like some prisoner somewhere. There's all these different starting modes, and you would just start it, and you're a fisherman, and your ship has crashed, and you're on a raft somewhere, and you have to get back. And then it starts off, you just have nothing. And that stuff is so much fun to just do it over again, but differently. And often when I'm playing video games, I have this mindset of, it's this weird mindset. I don't know if anyone shares the same thought process. Let me know if you do, because I'm interested. I want to know I'm not alone out there. I'm sure other people feel the same way. But when I play a game, there's a lot of games that I play where I have a lot of fun in the moment, but then I just forget about the experience and I just move on. It becomes kind of like a forgettable game. I was playing Dying Light a couple months ago and I was having fun. And then one day I was like, I don't feel like playing it anymore. And I just never played it again. And now all that time I spent on it, while I had fun in the moment, and that's what's important, it has no significant value anymore in my life. There's no memories tied to it or anything. It's just kind of like, just look back on it and you're like, oh yeah, that's a thing that kind of happened and whatever. And most games are going to be like that, right? But for some reason, RuneScape, there's something different when you're like, oh, I'm investing 6,000 hours, and as long as Jagex just doesn't screw up and destroy the game, I'm working towards, technically it can potentially be a lifelong thing, right? Which sounds weird, right? It's just, that's a very strange feeling, but it feels more okay to dump hundreds of hours into this game because I'm having fun and it just feels like it has longevity. Whereas if I dumped hundreds and hundreds, and if I had 1,000 hours into one Skyrim account, I don't know, whatever. I don't know, it feels differently. Maybe it's because I have nobody to show it off to. I have no one to be like, look at my account, look how much time I spent in it. And they go, wow, you're a fucking loser. I was on Reddit once on the 2000 Escape subreddit, and people were just talking about maybe somebody playing a lot, maybe getting 200 mil. And then I was like, oh my God, that's so crazy. I have 6,000 hours of playtime. I'm not even max. And everyone just started trashing me. You're a fucking loser. I was like, that's not even that much. It is a lot, but in terms of RuneScape playtime, come on. That's average. There's someone who has they have so much that I couldn't even guess. They averaged 8 hours a day since 2004. So much, they played so much that Jagex gave them a lifetime membership just for playing a lot. That's crazy. And that's awesome. I wonder what you would have to hit for Jagex to be like, wow, you play a lot. We feel bad taking your money. I think that, it's the beauty of their system where they just keep adding on to the game world instead of just, a lot of MMOs, the way they do it is they wipe all the content, right? We know World of Warcraft and Destiny does this. I've been playing Destiny recently. They bring out a new expansion once a year. It's this huge chunk of content, and then they remove shit. And it's I get why they do it, because when this new big piece of content drops, it's it's like a new game technically. It's part Destiny 2, part 2, or whatever it is. Same with World of Warcraft, right? They come out with these expansions, and essentially it's dropping the next game. It's how Call of Duty does it, where every year they drop a new Call of Duty. And other games do it as well. They just they don't wipe it, but they make everything you have currently kind of obsolete. Whereas RuneScape just kind of always adds on to what they currently have. They just keep building off of it. I think the downfall of that is we don't often get these major expansions of content. It's usually okay, we get Raids 3. That's going to be pretty big, but it's not how other games would handle it. Would they be we're going to do the desert expansion? You're getting Desert Treasure the Quest. You're getting Ancient Magics. You're getting Raids 3. You're getting Sophanum and Menaphos both opened. You're getting Necropolis, this new city, added as well. And get the Agility Pyramid. You're going to get the Thieving. They would do all of that in one. But that's all they get. It comes out once a year and boom, that's it. Whereas, we know how RuneScape does it. It's one thing at a time. And I don't know what I like better. I think sometimes I miss having large chunks of content drop because there's a lot to discover. Whereas we don't often discover this, we usually go in knowing exactly what there's going to be. Anyways, there's my little ramble on. I've been doing PVM. All that to say, I've been doing some PVM. Anything to really talk about? No, not really. Just been doing some PVM and some PvP on my peer, which is always a lot of fun. Anyone who's like kind of wants to learn PvP, 100% recommend making a whole new account. It sucks you have to make a whole new account. You can keep it free to play. Free to play's got a very lively PKing scene, which is also very fun, and it's very cheap. But training it up to like mine's like level 70, it's gonna max at like level 80. It's tons of fun though. It's a real good time. So recommend that. Just sprinkling that there at the end. Okay, it's about that time that we go and talk about what kind of news we got this week. All right. So what are we going to talk about this week? Let's talk about what we actually got added into the game. Let's start off with that, so this is the equipment rebalances tier changes in pull 76. So this happened, oh God, I don't even know how long ago. Let's look it up. Oh, this happened back in February. Felt like longer. Still, 2-3 months? They had this pull a few months ago, and they're finally bringing out a bunch of stuff. And a lot of people have been asking, what's taking so long? It is what's confusing about why some of these things take so damn long. That I sound very entitled when I say that, especially when I added on the damn part. But we get antsy, right? We get very antsy. Who knows? I'm curious as why things take longer, because there's a lot of these changes that really just feel like you're going into, like you're changing a few numbers. This is with no knowledge of coding whatsoever. That's how it feels like. So yeah, kicking it off, it's the equipment rebalance tier changes. And what they're doing is they're rebalancing a bunch of requirements for a bunch of weapons. So we have the Garazi Rapier, the Blade of Saildor, the Inquisitor's Mace. Those are 3 melee weapons, right? Each, Rapier's for stab, Saildor's for slash, and Inquisitor's Mace for crush. And these required 75 attack, and they are moving all of them to require actually 80 attack. Trident of the Swamp, 75 magic. They're moving that to 78 magic. Sanguinesti Staff is 75, moving it to 82. Kodai Wand moving to 80. They're moving a bunch of things up. Dragon Hunter Crossbow moving to 70 range. Scythe of Vitur moving to 80 attack and 90 range, which is actually making it, I think that's going to be one of the highest required weapons that we have, with needing 90 strength. Twisted Bow going up to 85 range. And the Bofa, Bow of Ferdinand, is going to 80 range and 70 agility. I know I'm just throwing out a bunch of numbers, and a lot of people are going to gloss over it. But essentially, I teased it at the beginning, but for the longest while, we hit the tier 75. All weapons fell in this category of needing 75 to use. Whether it was strength, attack, defense, range, or mage, it doesn't matter. You need 75 and you can wield it, which got kind of weird because a lot of things did not feel like they belonged in it. For instance, we had the Bow of Ferdinand and we had the Twisted Bow. And the whole point of the Bow of Ferdinand was to be this bridge between the blowpipe and the Twisted Bow, because the blowpipe got nerfed and people didn't like that. And the Twisted Bow was just so expensive, yet it was so good. So they brought the Bow of Ferdinand out. But it also requires 75 range. And actually, it also requires 70 agility. So in a way, it had a higher requirements than the Twisted Bow did, which doesn't really make sense, because when the Twisted Bow is good, it is really good, which is kind of how they were able to kind of balance it. Same with the Scythe of Vitur, right? It's this really strong weapon. If the target is more than 2 tiles, if it's like 2x2, if it's a big boy, big chunky boy, then the Scythe of Vitur will actually do 3 splats of damage. So it became this weird thing where it wasn't very consistent, and it didn't make sense for a new player to come into the game and they open up like all the weapons and they just have this long list of weapons that fell in this tier 75, but they weren't all balanced. They were not all the same strength. Some were much stronger than others. So for a level like 75, that doesn't really make sense. If we were tier 99, I think all of us can be like, that's fine. When you hit tier 99, we totally expect some weapons to be a better tier 99 than others. That's just kind of the way it is when you get to the max level, the max tier. but 75 was way too low for it. And the big reason I think why they put everything at tier 75 is because the community, the old school RuneScape community base was very reluctant when it come to power creep. It was toted all the time that no, power creep is bad in this game. We cannot have power creep, which is why it took quite a while for a bunch of new items and weapons to come out. Even though we have a bunch now, but this game is almost 10 years old at this point. I think you can expect a lot more weapons to come out from a game that's been alive for 10 years, usually. But people didn't want power creep. And what power creep really means is you creep up on power. So we're going to talk about World of Warcraft because they have this problem, right? I talk about how an expansion comes out and they wipe everything below. Well, really what they do is that you're level 60. Oh, we have a new expansion coming out. Now you can level to 70. All your tier 60 weapons are basically garbage. Tier 61, even though it's so easy to get a tier 61 weapon, there's no tier 60s that are going to be better than a 61. That's how they did it. So they would continue doing that. And then you all the way to tier 70. New expansion comes out, tier 75. New expansion comes out, tier 80. So they're constantly getting better and better weapons, which means damage was getting higher and higher and higher. It got to a point where it was kind of ridiculous, where you're hitting like 100,000 damage, just like boom. And that number is too big. So they realized that the damage inflation was just getting ridiculous. It seems weird to be like, I'm going to do this damage. It's going to hit 7 million. It's just too much, man. It's too much. Well, the guy's got 18 trillion health. Like, it just gets ridiculous. It's like playing those idle games. I like to play these incremental idle games, and you just watch the number go up. That's the whole point of it. And you get to like, how much money do you have? 8 quintillion. Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, but it takes 9 quintillion for the next upgrade. And then you get that, and then it gets ridiculous. So what WoW did was they shortened the number. They're like, you know what? Let's just shave off like 6 digits. And then it got back down to like having a lower number. And that's how they had to rebalance it because it got ridiculous. But that's power creep, right? And that's what people don't want in RuneScape because unlike WoW, RuneScape was tied at having 99 HP. I think I can speak for many of us when we don't want the HP to go the route that RuneScape 3 did, where we have like, you have 99 HP, let's add a 0 at the end. So now you actually have 990 HP. It's weird. And a lot of us, I didn't like that. I really didn't like that. So people were worried about all this a new max hit coming into the game. It's been less like this recently, actually. There's been definitely a shift in mentality where people are much more okay with max hits coming into the game now, because there used to be a huge pushback whenever it happened. And a way that Jagex kind of like tricked players or made it easier for items to pass the poll was like, okay, fine, everything just lands in tier 75, because then the average player looks at this new weapon coming out. Oh, you need 75 attack, just like this other 75 attack weapon. Oh, so they're going to be about the exact same, right? Not always the case, but that's what they did for a bit there. But now that we're much more okay with getting new weapons and new max hits, right? We wanted Torva, which is, I'm not 100% surprised by Torva being just a stat boost. I am surprised with the new Raids 3 items that we're getting a straight stat boost to range. So we're just getting a new armor set that's got no perks. It's got no like special effects. All it is it's a direct upgrade to Armadillo. And I think they saw so many, I think I could be wrong. My timeline could be all over the place, but it feels like Torva was so well received. They were like, oh, why don't we just do this with ranged as well? Because it's easy to balance. And it's been a while. It's been a while since we've done that. I was surprised by that. I was much more, I much preferred having like a not stat boost, some sort of perks tied to it. You get the full set. They had the low life perk they talked about. I think they had a hard time balancing it, but that was something that I was kind of looking forward to because I like stuff like that. I like Barrows. I like, that's the only example I can think of. I like Barrows armor a lot. I think it's really sweet. So I kind of get excited for other stuff like that. Like Justiciar kind of has the same thing, but with defense. And Void, I love Void. I love Void. That's such a cool armor set. So anyways, they changed it, and I think they're just like, you know what, we can do a few more stat buffs. What do they call? Mod Arcane called it a stat stick, and I kind of like that term where it's just like, oh, it's got nothing else, it's got nothing special about it. It's just straight up better than whatever its predecessor is. So now that we're seeing more items come into the game, Jagex is like, okay, let's rebalance a lot of these weapons so that it actually makes sense. They want it to be easy for a new player or someone to look at all the weapons in the game and say, okay, this one's tier 75, this one's tier 80. Tier 80 is straight up better, right? All right, there's the item rebalances. Next is some clue scroll changes. So they are tweaking the third age drop on the elite clue table. It was this weird thing where third age was harder to get on an elite clue than it was on a hard clue. And third age is like, for people who don't know, third age is like, I'm really trying not to like make myself feel old. What's the cool Supreme, Adidas, Nike, New Balance? Side note, I got these, the dad shoes. There's a brand of New Balance shoes that are like the stereotypical dad shoes. I bought them. They're like $120. But I was going to buy them as a joke, and then I tried them on. They are the most comfortable shoes I've ever worn. And I 100%, I totally get why they're dad shoes, because they don't look good at all. Holy shit, are they comfortable? I wear them everywhere. I bought New Balance and Vans because I was like, I need some good looking shoes if I'm going out on the town. I don't wear my Vans anywhere. I wear my New Balance all over the place because they're so freaking comfortable. But third age is armor and weapons that aren't necessarily that good, but they look pretty cool, and they are so rare that when you see someone with third age, you're like, they're the jaw droppers, right? They're turning heads at the Grand Exchange. You see someone sitting there with like third age plate armor, and you're like, whoa, that looks cool. You see someone with like the third age mage robes, and you're like, that doesn't look that great. And then you look at the prices and you realize it's only like 10 mil for the mage stuff, but that's kind of sad. But then you see someone with the longsword or the pickaxe or the hatchet or the druid set, and you're like, holy shit, where did you get that? And then you look on the Grand Exchange and you realize they're like max cash to get. So my whole point is they're so rare, they're so expensive, and they look pretty cool. They are the items that people go for to like turn heads, really. It's they are the party hats of old school RuneScape. Even though we have party hats in this game, that's probably confusing for people who might be new to old school RuneScape. Party hats in RuneScape 3 are worth so much because they came out in like 2000. There's 1 year where the party hats, Santa hats, and Halloween masks came out, and there's a limited number that dropped, and no more were added into the game. So there are these discontinued items that only went up in value over the years. I remember buying a green Halloween mask for 19 mil. Me and a buddy, we pooled our money together to get it. And RuneScape 3 nowadays, since they're so rare to get, they are like pretty much unobtainable for most players. Sometimes people want that in RuneScape, old school RuneScape, because old school RuneScape is all about flexing your account. And one of the ways you can do that is with third age. If you see an Iron Man with third age, it's quite impressive. You see anyone with third age, it's quite impressive because it's either expensive, they spend a lot of money to look cool, or they were super lucky. Anyways, I mentioned that elite clues were harder to get third age than it was on hard clues, and this is just talking about the percentage chance of actually retrieving one. To grind out elite clues also takes a lot longer, but it just made no sense to grind elite clues because it was just like a waste of time. Because what happened was there is a table, you roll, you basically spin a wheel, and then you have a very small chance at landing on the ultra rare table. And you land on the ultra rare table, then spins another wheel, and then you have a chance at landing on third age, has a chance at landing on gilded, and it has a chance on landing on like cabbage because Jagex sucks. They do that. They love that sort of stuff. And because the elite clue scroll ultra rare table had significantly more gilded pieces on it than both hard and master, it caused, so even though you would land on the ultra rare table, to then land on a third age item was so much more rare than any other clue scroll. So they've changed it. They made it a little bit more easy to get. On top of this, you now get clues from the Hollowed Sepulchre as well. This is a cool one. Bryophyta's staff. If you kill Bryophyta, okay, I get it. I don't like Bryophyta. I like Bryophyta. So this is me giving you the alternate pronunciation. Look it up on the Wikipedia. It says that my way is as well. And if it doesn't, it's because one of you guys went in there and edited it. But it's this staff that dropped from the Moss Giant boss. And the Moss Giant boss is a free-to-play boss, but for some reason, the Bryophyta's staff was not a free-to-play item, which is weird because we also have Obor, which is the Hill Giant free-to-play boss, which did drop the Obor's Club, which was free-to-play. So that was strange. So what the staff allows you to do is you can charge it with nature runes, and it has a 1 in 15 chance that it won't consume a nature rune. So basically, if you could afford it's like 10 mil right now, if you just had 10 mil, economically, this makes no sense. Okay. But you could high elk and save a bunch of money if you high elked like 100 million times or something crazy like that. Somebody has to do the math for me. But anyways, it's now free to play, which I think is great. It's a new unique, which is causing it to go up in price too, because there are some people who only play free to play. There's someone hanging out in our Discord and in the clan chat who is a free to play Iron Man, which is really cool. I played when I used to Twitch, twitch.tv/thedills. I don't know why I said that. I haven't streamed in like a year, but I was playing a PvP hardcore Iron Man account, and I was only playing in free to play at the moment. And I bumped into a lot of people who were free to play only accounts, and there's like a whole clan scene and stuff. It's actually really interesting. Again, going back to my further point, part of the beauty in this game, like people, you are like, why would you just play free to play? Like you're missing on so much of the game. But some people are like, I just want to play in free to play because it's a different style. It's really cool. So now they have a new item to grind for. RuneLite further gets integrated into Jagex, this thing called the Jagex launcher. It's not quite there for me to actually play through the Jagex launcher, but I've heard rumors that eventually you'll have like a one click to switch between accounts, which sounds sweet. You can have like one master account and then a bunch of characters tied to it. That sounds pretty neat. Can't wait to see what bugs happen from that. I logged my Dills account in like 20 times. So sick. Trade items between each other. That's that's gonna happen if they made it so that like you can have a bunch of characters tied to one account to make it a little bit easier. They'd be like Heartless would be able to log in with like 8 of his own accounts, and he'd have his own group Iron Man. Dead Man mode is having a rerun. They're doing a second beta because they really want this to go smoothly, and it won't. But let's stay posted. Yeah, there was during their first beta, there was a bunch of issues, but that's why you do a beta. So that makes sense. We just like to poke fun sometime. All right, next, let's talk about Group Iron Man. They got some changes. What's Group Iron Man? Well, I'll tell you. Back in October, they came out with this mode where you can play Iron Man. What's Iron Man, you might be thinking? Most people won't be thinking that. But if you are, it's basically you're playing RuneScape. The theme of the episode. The beauty of this game is you can play it over and over and over again with different types of accounts, different builds and different styles and different goals. And you can play it over and over again, and it's always going to be different if you want it to be. We have Iron Man mode, which you basically play single player old school RuneScape. You can still see people, you can still talk with people. There's still some bosses and mini games you can interact with other people with, but you have to grind out all the items yourself. You can't trade with anybody. And there's a lot of activities that you actually can't even get help from other people, or else you would lose the reward from that activity. Group Iron Man is in between your normal account and an Iron Man account. So you and a group of other Group Iron Man players can then play together, trade with each other. You have your own bank that you can share, all this sort of stuff. So basically what I think kind of happened was a lot of people started playing Group Iron. I wasn't really super into it because I wasn't going to play it, which I guess sounds kind of selfish to say. I voted yes on that poll, and I'm happy it came out, but I wasn't like excited for it or anything. Not for me at least. I was excited for other people to play it so I could like watch new YouTube series and all that sort of stuff. But it's not a game mode that I was like super invested into. And one thing that I was also worried about, and and this is why I never joined anyone else's group Ironman. I had people who asked me, do you want to do a group Ironman together? And I was like, I do, but I know I'm going to get bored after a week, and then I'm going to drop off and stop playing it. And then I'm going to like leave you guys hanging, and I'm going to feel bad. And I know a lot of people encounter this problem. They made a group of some friends. They were more invested than the rest of their friends. And what ended up happening was they were just stuck playing by themselves on this group Ironman account. And Jagex kind of made it like, they made it like a super serious mode for some reason. And they made it so that it was like really hard to find new groups or really hard to bring in new players to your groups. And they added all these restrictions to prevent people from griefing and to prevent people from, boosting the accounts and all that stuff. And I think a lot of people looked back on it and they're like, I wish they were a little bit more casual, because we don't care about high scores. We don't care about being competitive. We just want to have fun with friends. It's a shame that they made it so difficult. So Jagex kind of came and addressed this a little bit. They added some more flexibility when forming and swapping different groups. They'll basically allow you to swap in and out of groups or bring in new players. The only downfall is you'll get removed from the high scores so that you can't be competitive and all that sort of stuff. And so what they're doing is they're bringing in basically, I think it looks like 3 different types of group Ironman. So they have unranked group Ironman mode, which will allow people to swap in and out of this. You won't be tracked on the high scores, but it's much more casual. So if a friend stops playing, you could bring in a new friend eventually. They'll have ranked group Ironman mode, which is basically what we have now. And this way people compete on the high scores still. And they have what says a regular account here. I don't know what they mean by that. So I think they saw, I think what they might have noticed is a significant amount of group Ironman players has stopped playing since October. It being like it became what Partner Slayer is. If you don't know what Partner Slayer is, I'm not too surprised, because there was this idea way back when where you and your friend could partner Slayer together. You guys could go kill the same monsters together, and it'd allow you to like just hang out and chill, but also not have to worry about leaving up to RNG on whether or not you could play together. So you would group up, get a Slayer task, and boom, 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 kill the same shit together, and it's fun. Everyone's having a great time. But players found a way to abuse that, and found a way to like guarantee yourself like bigger Slayer tasks, and then eventually, because I guess it was kind of a problem, and Jagex was like, can't have this, and then they removed Partner Slayer. But so anyway, that's kind of a bad comparison, but I think they just saw a bunch of players stopped playing group Ironman, and they were like, well, this was a big game mode. A lot of us were looking forward to. A lot of people were looking forward to, and I guess because we didn't really support it, we let it die. Because that's what happens, right? There's a lot of things in this game that just kind of die, and there could be a scene but the thing is like it gets no updates. It's like discontinued, and then it just dies, and then it hemorrhages a player base, and then eventually nobody plays it because nobody plays it. We saw that with the original Last Man Standing. So to bring back the hype of group Ironman mode, they brought out this new competition, this new event called the Boss Bash. And this is going to be a small scale raffle type of contest for group Ironman players. It is available to any type of group Ironman player, whether you're a hardcore, unranked, or a ranked account. But the way it works is you'll have 2 weeks to PVM to your heart's content. And basically, depending on what activities you do, will get you raffle tickets. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, 10 teams will get raffle tickets. 10 teams will get selected randomly, and every player will win lifetime membership. Wow, that's crazy. It's for your group Ironman account only, though, so you can't like switch it. You actually have to care about your group Iron account. Yeah. So this is starting on May 25th. So if you're a group Ironman player, or if you've been thinking about it, now's a chance to kind of dive in. Actually, yeah, now's a chance to dive in, but you really have to, book the next 2 weeks off and just go ham to get yourself up there. They have winter odds, so you can do that. Sorry, 9 groups will get 1 year of membership. 1 group will get a lifetime membership for all members. Pretty neato. Okay. Next up, Giants Foundry. I'll make this one quick. But they've tripled the experience rates because they realized 80k experience, it being just a little bit higher than AFKing rune darts or adamant darts or whatever it is, probably not a good move. So they've tripled the experience rates from 80k to, what is that, 240k. That's quite a bit. But they've also increased the number of bars needed per sword. You also will make some money for each completion, but none of that is too exciting. What's really exciting, not really exciting, but it's something to talk about, is the Colossal Blade, which originally required 50 attack to use. It has been moved up to require 60 attack to use, and it actually has a perk tied to it. So the special effect will allow you to max hit plus 2 times the NPC size. So the bigger the monster, the harder you hit. Bring that motherfucker to Corp and you're going to be smacking. Maybe. Probably still might not want to, but yeah, the idea is they want it to kind of fill a niche that the Dragon Scimitar doesn't, which is kind of strange to say, but whatever. Okay, sure, why not? I still think they should have made it free to play instead. Give them some love, but who cares? Okay, and finally, the juicy stuff. What are we talking about? We're talking about the PvP Discord server. They opened up to the public so anyone could join, but then they only enabled about 100 players the ability to actually chat and discuss. They brought out a bunch of different channels to discuss the direction of PvP, the wilderness, and the PvP armor sets, some suggestions there, and they let people talk about it. They only gave them about 24 hours to actually chat because they said 24 hours after we let people chat, we're going to be going to, we're going to have a, what do they call it? Stand-up meeting, a scrum meeting. They're going to have some sort of meeting where they all have to pitch their ideas for these new PvP armors. But I watched a lot of people talking, and it was actually interesting. Hearing a lot of different opinions and a lot of different discussion revolving a few different topics. So first, I guess we can talk about the PvP armors. A lot of people don't like the PvP armors just being significantly stronger in the sense that, like, it's a strength boost. So you're just hitting a higher max hit using it than you would with whatever armor would have came before it. A lot of people didn't like that. And their argument was, we don't need more max hits. We would prefer it to we would prefer armors that give you more accurate hits. Because the problem, especially when you're max tribe rating, so you're level 126, you're facing people with really good armor. The problem was that you're really hoping RNG is on your side because you can really just strike out and hit zeros a lot. And I see it all the time too, right? I do a lot of PVMing in the wilderness. I don't really PK a whole lot on my main. I do, but I avoid the really strong players. I go to areas like maybe the Chaos Altar or wherever it is, and I look for other PvPers there because I tend to bump into the less, but not the greatest players. And that's perfect for me because I'm not the greatest either. But I know when I'm PVMing, I'll bring the Din's Bulwark with me. And oh boy, does that thing slap. That thing prevents getting slapped, I should say. People will try to like AGS spec me, and it's like, I'm not even worried half the time. Never, so many times. Whenever I have the Din's Bulwark and I get teleblocked, I can basically just sit there and wait for the teleblock timer to run out, and then I can leave. It's pretty good. Now, I'm not saying that we need armor that allows you to shred someone in Dins, but I see this with like, even without Dins, it can be quite inaccurate. Now, I never really saw it as a problem because you could still hit really high. If you were lucky, you could still kill me. But I think what people didn't like is that you relied too much on RNG and less about skill. You should be rewarded for switching and hitting somebody off prayers or off whatever armors they have. And having something that boosted your accuracy could help with that. Now, I don't know enough about PvP to give my opinion on that specifically, but I saw a lot of people calling for like more accuracy. And the other part that I thought was interesting, which was a decent topic of discussion, is the wilderness. And it has to do with like the activities we have in the wilderness. I know there's some people listening who's probably not going to agree with this, but a lot of the time, the wilderness activities are touted as high risk, high reward. I've been thinking about this a lot because I do a lot of stuff in the wilderness. There's not really a lot of high risk, high reward stuff to do. So I do all my prayer at the Chaos Altar. If I get PK'd there, I lose under 30k worth of loot. It's really not much at all. But the amount of bones I save make up for it. If I want to bring a three item risk and give myself some defense, I can make myself very tanky while still risking very, very little if I wanted to. So that's not really high risk, high reward. It feels more like kind of high reward, medium to low risk. The wilderness bosses, right? Venenatis, Vedion, Callisto. Those are the three main ones. You have Scorpia and you have Chaos Elemental, but those two that has real shit loot. The other three at least have some decent loot, but I've done a lot of Venenatis kills, over 1,000. I got the pet there. I think I have like 1,500 kills. Callisto, I think I'm over 500 kills at Callisto. I might have 100 kills at Vedion, but I hate Vedion, so I don't do that much. But Callisto is about 50k GP per kill. It seems like that's what my log says. Although the wiki says about 100k a kill, which still isn't that much for how long it takes. It can take several minutes to kill it. My risk is very low. I bring 4 items. Usually bring the Din's Bulwark, the Chain Mace. I'll bring probably like a Fury Amulet and I don't know, whatever. But I'm risking like I'm risking like Black Dragonhide top bottoms, Rune boots, Barrows gloves, but I could easily swap those up for Rune gloves and it's like significantly cheaper. It's like 5k. So my risk there is very little. The only time I ever lose a lot is when I just stay. I stay there for way too long and then I just like I'm not paying attention. I'm AFKing. So I could lose like a couple mil there, but I'm never that bothered because I'm not losing anything. I'm just not gaining the shit that I killed that I got there. Venenatis is the same. It's a little bit more XP, or it's a little bit more gold per kill and per hour, mainly because the kills are much, much faster, but it's also significantly safer. So as long as you're not hardcore AFKing, you can teleport so quickly. You're just in it. With Callisto, you actually have to run. It's a little bit more dangerous. Vedion is better gold, but it sucks way more to kill. It's harder. It's way, way harder to kill. But all these monsters, you're not really risking a whole lot. Your biggest risk is probably the ether you use to charge your wilderness weapons. So again, and the gold that they give, I would say it's not bad, but that's not great either, especially compared to what we have. We have so many other bosses that give way better loot. Way, way better loot. I think the only thing the wilderness has on it is that it's AFK, and that's because we found a way to cheese it by getting them stuck. Not the intended method, but that's the only thing that makes them feel a little bit nicer is that I can like turn off my brain and kill it. And as long as I'm not AFKing too hard, I can probably still get away if somebody logs in. But you know, Zulrah, Vorkath, Hydra, all these other monsters have way better gold per hour. Now I'm going to counter my argument. This is why I need Heartless here. I need somebody to like counter me, but I'll counter myself. Those other bosses do have a much higher requirement. The only requirement you have for wilderness bosses is, can you afford a chain mace or can you afford one of the revenant weapons? You can probably go out and kill it. Otherwise, it's not really worth your time. Whereas like Vorkath, Dragon Slayer 2, you know, Gauntlet, you need to get Song of the Elves. But my point is that it's not high risk, high reward for those bosses either. And the Rev Caves, again, it's not great money per hour. You can risk very little. It's a little bit riskier because there are more PKers there, but you can find a spot where you can one-click teleport because you're underneath 30 wilderness. But the only thing that what makes the Revenant Caves a good moneymaker is how like accessible it is. Anyone can kind of go there as long as you have the 100k and the Bracelet of Ethereum. And it's like AFK to kill it. There's no mechanics. You don't need to learn any fights. You just have to learn to like click a teleport if somebody shows up. So I think there are pros and cons to wildy content, but if the whole idea of wilderness content is high risk, high reward, I don't think we have it. I don't know what the wilderness course, it's not even the best experience. There's nothing in the wildy that's a high risk, high reward. Maybe the mage keeps because there's no alternatives really. But besides that, there's really nothing I can think of. So I saw a lot of people saying that like, if you want to make the wilderness more thriving for both PKers and just players in general, increase the gold per hour from a lot of these bosses. You know, Rev Caves was an awesome, I didn't like it at the time, but I look back on it and it was a really good PvP update. And I see a lot of people saying the same thing. People are going to think because it was such good money. They dropped so much money. They were such good money makers. They were filled. But And you're probably thinking like, okay, so you increase Rev Cave's gold per hour. Now it's just filled with more PVMers. But what happened with the original Rev Caves, this happened a lot. And we used to do a bunch of PvP Rev Cave trips in the clan. Used to do them all the time. And they're a lot of fun because it's easy. But it was like kind of the ecosystem that Jagex wants. I don't know how easy it is to obtain, but they kind of had it a little bit where a lot of PVMers would be out in the Rev Caves killing chicks and making a lot of money. And their whole goal was to get out before PKers showed up. But as a PKing team, you want to log into Rev Caves, you go wipe out all the other PVMers. But because it became such a hotspot for PKers as well, quite often you would bump into another clan of PKers. And every time the two clans would stop going after the PVMers and they would just face each other, because if you can kill the other team, you get their loot and you get any of the loot of the people they killed. And it became this like environment where like that would happen and PVMers would all just either teleport or they would continue killing it because they knew they would be safe until the fights were over. And that was a lot of fun. You don't have that anymore. You don't have that system anymore. The Rev Caves, all you really have is solo PKers going in there. And sometimes, sometimes you bump into other solo PvPers. But honestly, I do a lot of PKing on the weekends. And it's crazy how rare it is to sometimes bump into another PvPer. Kind of sad. Even PVMer, like the whole Rev Cave is way more dead on a Saturday night than you would expect. So people have been saying, you know what? Remove the uniques that people don't like. Remove the dragon pick. Remove all the wilderness rings. Add more just raw GP. Or you can try to add in some uniques, but make the uniques like the Rev weapons, where their purpose is to be used back in the wilderness, right? It becomes this like ecosystem of items where you get these items in the wilderness and they're good in the wilderness. Stuff like the dragon pickaxe, it kind of sucks. Got added there because they couldn't think of any more rewards to bring into the game when they added the wilderness bosses. So they added the dragon pickaxe. That would be easy. But now that a lot of more, and you know what? People didn't even care originally. People were like, yeah, bring the dragon pickaxe. But now that we have a lot of Iron Man players, they don't want to go and have to kill. They don't want to be forced to get the dragon pickaxe through the wilderness, which is a fair argument. But when it was introduced, I don't even think Iron Man mode was out at the time. So yeah, nobody cared. Anyways, that's what a lot of discussions I've been seeing. It's been quite interesting. So we're going to see what route Jagex goes with all this stuff. Okay, guys, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back. We have got a bunch of callers who called in. So we're going to go listen to them when we get back. And I need to get some water and I need to take a quick little break, but we will return. We are taking a quick little break and heading on over to the Grand Exchange, the place where spam and scams, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all that happens at the Grand Exchange. But this Grand Exchange is a little bit different. It's like a little bit different. We're going to tell you how you can support the show if that's something you were kind of thinking about doing. I've had a couple people in the past ask about how they can support the show not monetarily. And while my answer would always be just to continue listening, that's the best way to do it. Some people want to do a little bit extra. So if you're listening on like Apple Podcasts, and I think even Spotify has this, you can leave us a rating and a review. It kind of helps if other people are looking for an old school RuneScape podcast. Kind of helps with like the algorithm and stuff. And yeah, you can leave a review. I read every single review. You can tell us what your thoughts are. Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Whatever it is, I'd be happy to read it. So yeah, feel free to do that if you want. But hey, if you do want to support the show monetarily, financially, whatever, we have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/thewildernesspodcast. And I do have to welcome Matt and Sawyer Davidson to the Patreon crew this week. Thank you guys so much for signing up. And of course, a special shout out to our top tier supporters: Yay Fiber, Sejuan, Splimo, Mallard, B Jackals, Mike Stevenson, Astrocity, and Yolfi Ferrick. Thank you guys so much for the support, and thank you to everyone for supporting the show. It really, really means a lot. It blows me away every single week. We also have buymeacoffee.com/dills if you want to do a one-time donation instead. Some people don't like Patreon. And that's totally fine. So we have that as well. So I want to thank 2JZ Soup for keeping me caffeinated this week. If you are a Discord user and you want to help support by boosting the Discord server, that is another way to do it. Some people want to sign up for this Discord premium. It's called Nitro, and you get 2 free boosts. And setting it to the Wilderness server will help boost it. It's another way to support it. So thank you to Battle Staffs, CatBarf67, and Chick for boosting the server. Discord.gg/thewilderness if you would like to join. All right, let's head on over. Let's go listen to some callers. And we are back. And as I mentioned, we had some people get in touch with the show. So first things first, last episode, I went on a solo discussion about the tick system in old school RuneScape. I talked about how I kind of ruined the Inferno by asking people to give me a review of their time in the Inferno. And it made me like not motivated at all to do it. So Cam Wants Ham wrote into the show and said, I might be the first person to say this to you, but I absolutely loved the Inferno grind. I got mine a couple days ago before Weiss, the two of them were racing, and the entire time I was having an absolute blast. It's super punishing, which reminded me of Fasani's or Theater of Blood, but every time you get a new personal best, it's an amazing feeling. And if you don't want to ruin it for yourself, like you said you do to a lot of other grinds, I would say go in without a guide at all. Don't think about the tick system, but learn how long each monster takes to attack you. Cam, thank you so much for writing in. And it's an interesting take. And you know what? I mentioned earlier that we often know all about whatever updates are coming out. We often know exactly what's happening for the most part. And when we do like Chambers of Xeric or Theater of Blood, we usually have somebody who is teaching us, or we have watched videos and guides on how to do the fight. I've mentioned how my favorite thing to do in this game is questing without a guide. So I don't know if I've thought about doing Inferno without a guide. But it does actually sound kind of fun, and it does feel like it would be interesting to learn content without having somebody full on explain it to me, which can make it fun, right? I love that about quests. Let's try that with the hardest PVM content in the game. That should go smooth. So I think I might actually try that. I mean, I bought a heart monitor because I was going to like stream my experience doing the Inferno grind. I was going to have a heart monitor to show myself having like a panic attack. The thing was $100. My wife is like, why are you buying this? And I was like, no, I need to get it. It's for RuneScape. You don't understand. I'm gonna get so much use out of it. That was months ago. I haven't pulled it out of the box in like a really long time. So maybe we'll try that out. This is why I can't get into hobbies. I tell you, I get too into it. I'm going to get a heart monitor because I'm going to do the Inferno grind. I'm going to get one of those. I was literally looking at those, those eye sensors that streamers do where it shows where they're looking. I was going to get that with the Inferno as well. It was like $400. I was like, no, okay, I can't do that one. Or can I? Cam, thank you again for writing in. And I mentioned before the break, we got some callers. So on the same topic, Misty Skills called in to talk about the tick system. Let's hear what he had to say.
Whether you're a brother or whether you're a mother, you're staying alive, staying alive. Feel the city breaking and everybody shaking, you're staying alive, staying alive. Ha, 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 staying alive, staying alive. Ha, ha, ha. Staying alive. All right, what's up? What's up, y'all? It's Misty Skills again, and I'm just singing that song because that song is 100 beats per minute, which is what the tick system is in RuneScape, which I'll talk about in a second. My biggest accomplishment in the game was probably joining the Wild CC about, 3 years ago or something when Deegan was still on the podcast. Feel like I've gotten into a community, and that's the reason I keep on playing this game. I freaking love the tick system, and I think that you can love the tick system without always thinking about it all the time. I kind of instinctually play to the beat. It's kind of like a rhythm game to me. And as long as you're staying on rhythm, you are playing with the tick system. And even with high-level endgame content like Chambers of Xerix, if you're paying attention to what's happening around you and in the game, you can follow the ticks without actually thinking about
it. Oh, thank you so much for calling in, Misty Skills. That was great singing. That was great singing. Did you know it's Bee Gees and not the Bee Gees? It's crazy. I always thought it was the Bee Gees, but no. It's just Bee Gees. That's some very beautiful singing to kick off the caller segment, and even tied in the biggest achievement, which is join the Wild CC. It was very easy to do, so that's fantastic to hear. Also, quite worrying. We gotta get you out there to do some PVMing. Actually, we've been doing some raiding on the weekend. It's been a lot of fun. And as someone who loves rhythm games, I've seen that argument before. People are like, it's kind of like a rhythm game. And I am a big fan of rhythm games. I love me some Beat Saber, the VR. You're like slicing all these boxes. And I was also a big fan of Guitar Hero and Rock Band, which, by the way, what happened to those games? Those games were huge. Everybody played them. And then what happened? They're just like not out anymore. I had DJ Hero too, which was like significantly worse. It wasn't even that much fun. Maybe it's just like being a DJ versus being a guitar player, right? I think sometimes I wonder if I really just need to get good at learning the tick system and knowing what it is, because I've tried prayer flicking and I can't do it properly. I do what they call it, lazy flicking. It doesn't sound fun, but I also can't do it. And I wonder if I just like you say you do it to Bee Gees, but when like you can't just start it, you got to start it on the tick, right? Otherwise you'll always be off tick doing it. So it's confusing. I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe I don't understand it properly. That's also quite possible as well. So thank you again for calling in and singing in. Can we get a wilderness talent show going on? Okay, next up is Dovahkieg, who called in.
Yo, Dills, Heartless, what's going on, guys? This is Dovahkieg calling in. Just want to give you guys a little shout out, a little support. You guys have hands down the best podcast in old school RuneScape right now. Fuck that Sebe guy.
Shit.
Nah.
Oh, snap. You know what? We are overdue for some podcast beef. Actually, I was going to say a lot of streamers beef with each other, but not in RuneScape. Everyone seems to really love each other. It's the players that hate each other. Anyways, sorry, continue on.
I'm playing, but for real, love to listen to you guys while I'm at work. Dillis, I know you mentioned you like to know what your listeners do for a living. I'm a finished carpenter.
Nice.
So, on days when I'm working by myself, it's nice to throw the headphones in and listen to your guys' thoughts and take on any RuneScape updates or any content like that. Again, love to listen to your guys' views on everything that's going on. So, thanks again for everything. Good luck out there, boys.
Dovahkieg, thank you so much for calling in and possibly starting some podcast beef. No, I'm just kidding. But I used to work in construction for a while, and I used to deal with some of the with different trades and all that stuff, which was always really cool. At this point, it's been some years now, and I'm starting to forget a lot of things. I can't fully remember what finished carpentry is. I want to say that has to do with cabinets and stuff. I might be wrong though. But that's awesome. That sounds fun. I wish I was good at that sort of stuff. I don't think I was cut out for it. I'm also always afraid of cutting my fingers off and all that shit, and constantly would get wood kicking back at me, and it's scary. It just didn't work out. Okay, and next up we have Matacause1. Matacause1, you called in twice this week, but I know this call isn't to do with the question of the week, which we will get into.
Hey guys, I'm back. My voice may be appearing twice on the same episode. I'm not sure if you're going to put it on this one or the next. Well, I guess I'll be calling in the next one anyway. So at some point, you'll hear me twice in the same episode. But I actually saw this question on Reddit. So to give credit to whoever wrote that on Reddit, I thought it was really interesting. what old school RuneScape location would make the best Super Smash Bros. Map? My answer would be the Grand Tree. I think that would be really fun. It actually reminds me of that map from Super Smash Bros. Melee. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it was basically that map that would just turn and there was lava below, and it would turn every maybe 30 seconds to a minute. I could see the Grand Tree being something like that, where potentially like the whole tree would turn and you'd be fighting in the gnome restaurant, and then the tree would turn and then you'd be right next to the gnome glider or something like that. So anyway, wanted to hear your thoughts on that, Dills and Heartless ? See you guys.
Yeah, no, Heartless. I wonder. Oh, Heartless. I wonder if Heartless was a Super Smash player. I think he would be. I feel like Heartless would be a Super Smash player, but he'd also be like a Fox main. I know Fox was like the best character in Super Smash Brothers Melee. I always played Zelda, and I would transform into Sheik, and I was really good with her. It was the only one I was really good with. That's a good answer. I remember that rotate. It's been a long time since I played it. That rotating world was the worst. See, I'm trying to think, what would be my favorite? Probably like Varrock Castle. My favorite map in Super Smash Bros. Melee was Hyrule Castle. It was so big and pretty straightforward, but it was a lot of fun. So I think you could do something with like Varrock Castle just being the different levels of Varrock Castle. I think you could also, I don't know. See, the Grand Tree works really well because it's floating. I think you could also do like Tutorial Island and, you know, make it like multi-levels where underneath you have the mining area and all that stuff too. You can make that work. God, that's a good question. I haven't played that game in a long time. Oh boy. All right. We did have a question last week, and my question for you guys was, what is your proudest or most significant old school RuneScape achievement? And it can be anything. It's what was your most proudest, no matter what it was. So let's start off with that's Johnny T.
It's the Wilderness Podcast. It's the best podcast in the land. Hey guys, it's That's Johnny T. Wanted to chime in on the biggest achievement, the pizza cape. You're damn right, I got it, and it took me 6 attempts. I got it on the 9-iron. God, the soul crushing feeling of dying to Jad 5 times prior to that, it was horrible. Even my wife was just like, I have no idea what's going on, but you could do it. And I was just like, I just like just struggling. But when you finally get it, man, I was so happy. I almost turned in the cape for Jad Pet. I was that I was that excited, and I was that inflated of, I feel like I could do anything. Like, that dopamine rush was incredible. The second one was probably, I got the Phoenix Pet. I like even called it an hour before, some dumb luck.
This.
I already banked 99 fire making on the iron, and then I just kept going back. I was like, this is the grind. I'm gonna get that pet, and I did, and it felt great. So yeah. Thanks. Have a good one. Bye.
God, that first fire cape. Let's all take a minute to think back about our first fire cape and how good that felt. And if you haven't got it yet, you're lucky to experience. It is a great feeling. It took me many tries. I would say 12 tries, but this is also including 2007 when I was trying to get it then. It was really hard. And I remember, Jad hands is a real thing. Your hands are shaking. Your hands are shaking, but I'm still killing. Oh, sorry. Boom, headshot. Man, that's a throwback. But yeah, Jad hands are a real thing. You get super scared and you're like trying to click and you can't click and you misclick and you get hit for a 99 and you're dead. It is a fantastic feeling. And I think a lot of us are going to think back to that being like a really big moment in our old school RuneScape career. And also getting a pet. I remember getting my first pet, Scotizo, and me like losing it. I was like, again, shaking. And then I teleported. I think I lost it because there's this bug where it wouldn't follow you if you teleported to your POH. So that I thought I lost it almost instantly. So that sucks. And thanks again. That's Johnny T. And thanks. What, we got 2 people singing in one episode. What are the odds? Oh man, that's amazing. Oh, Next up, we have Mac.
What's up, Dills? Heartless. This is Mac, aka A Crusty Spoon. I wanted to share my favorite RuneScape memory with you guys. Obviously, I've talked to you guys in game. I've played for quite a while, but my favorite memory of all time was actually the first week that I became a member of this clan. I got a 3 KC Dragon Warhammer at Shaman's on my phone on my lunch break at work. And to this day, I just remember freaking out and how exciting that was for me. And I wanted to call and share that info with you guys. Keep up the great work. Love the podcast and keep grinding.
I'm secretly just like paying people on the side. Hey, can you call in and drop about how cool the clan is? That's crazy though. It's one of the, it reminds me of at my old job, we had meetings like every single day, and it was oh my god, they're so boring. And I would just sit there and just like chilling, and I was just AFK mining, and then I got the mining pet, and I remember I was like watching my screen, like watching my video camera in the Zoom call, being like, holy shit, I have to act normal. Act normal. Oh my god, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. And I was like so freaking out. And I was just like, play it cool. I can't I just want to scream with excitement. But then they'd be like, okay, Dills, your turn to stand up. What are your wins and learns today? I just got the rock pet, motherfuckers. It's funny though. Yeah, I think it's always funny when in this game you get stuff and then you have this like all this excitement and energy, but what can you do with it? You go out for a run. You can't. Sometimes it's late at night. You can't scream or anything either. It's hectic. So and then doing it on your phone. Oh my god! Imagine you didn't pick it up. That would be my worst nightmare. Or you didn't notice it. I got a rune crafting pet on my phone and I didn't even notice it. But luckily you don't have to pick it up. It just follows you. Okie dokie. Our last caller. The back-to-back Matacause 1 call in an episode. Let's get into it.
Hello, Dills and Heartless, question mark. Matacause 1 here. Long-time listener, many-time caller. So I just listened to the latest episode, and I must say my proudest achievement is actually a weird one. Also kind of a shameless plug for myself, come to think of it. But anyway, my proudest OSRS achievement is actually directly tied to the Wilderness podcast, namely the bonus episode for the skills competition from the summer of 2019. So in that, I described my concept for the scribe skill, going as far as doing concept art, quest integration, leveling techniques, and unlockables, etc., etc. And former co-host Deegan actually liked my skill the most, and I won a prize of OSRS bonds, which I still remember Dills transferring to me on mobile while he was on a camping trip.
No way.
If anybody hasn't listened to that episode yet, highly recommend it. Not just for the kick-ass scribe skill, of course. Kidding. But also for the many great submissions. Great pod. See you guys.
Wow, that's funny. I logged in while I was camping to give you a bond. That's great. How did I even have service out there? Oh, anyways, the beauty of mobile. I can't even remember that. That competition was fun though. Yeah. For context, for someone who might not have listened to it back in, I guess it was 2019 or maybe it was 2018, but one of the Rune Fests, Jagex tried to pitch this new skill called warding. And this is the third skill that they tried to pitch into the game, right? We first had sailing, which still could have ended up being a really cool skill, and then we had the artisan skill, which I don't know if it ever even got pulled, but they pitched it and didn't receive good feedback. It was basically going to be Slayer, but for doing different skills. We actually did get artisan, but it became an activity, right? We had the farming guild with the farming contracts and mahogany homes, that sort of junk. And then we had warding, which was going to be a way, it's going to be like crafting, it's going to be like smithing, but instead of range or melee armor, it was going to be for mage armor. And it had a bunch of other mechanics in it as well. And they pitched it and they really worked hard on it. And I think I really liked it. I can't remember my exact opinion, but I'm pretty sure I really liked it because there was a time where I did like it. And then as I thought about it, I realized I didn't really like it. And then it didn't pass and it didn't come into the game. And now that I think about it, I'm glad it didn't, because it would have been, if a new skill comes into the game, which I'm sure at one point we're going to want one, I don't want it to be fletching 2.0 because I never had fun training fletching. I don't want it to be a skill where later on they have to bring out some sort of Wintertod or Temperos or Guardians of the Rift to make it fun. I want it to be fun from the get-go. And I think that's why they struggle with bringing out a new skill, because it's going to have to be very innovative. It's going to have to be a lot of work worked on it. So I don't know if we'll ever see a skill until maybe the player base starts dropping a bit. But anyways, after that, the warding skill failed. We decided to host a contest where people who listen to the show could write in with their own skilling ideas. And oh man, I remember so many people wrote in. I can't believe how many people wrote in. There was like 13. There's a lot of submissions. And I remember we did a 4-hour long podcast, I think, talking about every single one of them. And now that I think about it, I don't know the proper way. That's a long podcast. I guess if people liked it, then they listened all the way through. But there's a lot of cool ideas, right? The scribe skill was actually very interesting. There was even like an acting or a performance skill, and there was a swimming skill, which is still the best. You know what the swimming skill is? It's this skill that you go underwater. Okay, I don't know who pitched. I forget who pitched this. It was an awesome skill, and I think it should come into the game. You go underwater, right? And when the swimming skill happens, suddenly all your skills go down to level 1. And now you're level 3 again when you're underwater. And in order to train, you need to train your skills underwater from level 1 all the way to 99 again. And as you train your skills, a little bit of experience goes to your swimming skill. And whatever level your swimming skill is at is the max level your other skills can get to. So essentially, you're playing your account. You have 2 different levels. You have your swimming level. You have your other, but and the thing is, well, the same equipment can't be used underwater. It's got to have a whole new economy of weapons and armors and different potions and food. And it'd be this really cool system. That was my idea. I remember so many people like, that's the worst thing I've ever heard. Did you seriously make me sit through that and listen? Heavily inspired by Guild Wars 2, because when you go underwater, everything changes. All your attacks all change to different types, which I always thought was really, really cool. But yeah, that was a cool contest. A lot of people wrote in with some really cool ideas. Demonology was one of them, I remember. God, there was a bunch of them. Yeah. And yeah. So yeah, very cool stuff. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That's a fun trip down memory lane. We should do other stuff like that. All right, guys. Thanks everyone for calling in. I get these pop-ups whenever I get it even when people email and stuff. I always get so excited when people want to email and call in. So if anybody wants to, but is a little bit hesitant, it is quite fun for me. So if that's some motivation. All right. Anyways, that was question last week. What is the question this week? We talked a lot about different updates and different expand and like the update system in old school RuneScape compared to other games and all that sort of stuff. We talked about how varied this game is in content. I want to know, what update had you the most excited for? And tell me about why, but also tell me about like, what did that do for you? That's weird. I don't know how I'm going to record that one in the speak pipe message, but I'll give my answer. Okay. So what is what piece of content or update were you the most excited for in the lifetime of this game? For me, it was definitely Theater of Blood. It was the second raid brought into the game. When Theater of Blood came out, I was a high enough level to kind of understand, and I could like attempt Theater of Blood, but Theater of Blood was so hard on release that like no one was able to complete it. And I woke up at 6 a.m. I must have called in sick to. Oh, I did call in sick to work. I'm pretty sure. I took like 2 or 3 days off, I think. I remember I tried to do some Theater of Blood. It was packed out. They already had the area of Theater of Blood put into the game, but the doors to the theater hadn't been open. I logged out in the area on midnight, and there's a bunch of people there too. It was like midnight, and people were like logging out and getting ready with their gear, and we were chatting, and everyone's like, okay, it's like, it's the midnight release, although the midnight release was happening at 6 a.m. Then I went to bed. My alarm went off, and I woke up at 6 a.m. I went downstairs, and it was packed. I tried some attempts. It was really hard. I kept dying. Went on Twitch to watch other people, and I spent like 2 days watching Twitch streams nonstop. That first day, I think I watched Twitch for 16 hours. I'm not that big of a Twitch stream watcher, but it was so much fun to watch, and people had such a hard time completing it. And I remember there was 2 teams racing for the first completion. There was Bodie and Wooks, and there was a bunch of like content creators who were going for it. And then there was a team of like, they were just like really good PVMers. They weren't really streamers that much though. They were both going for it. And I remember the content creators team kept getting to the final fight, and it looked like they were going to get it, but they just hit a roadblock. They couldn't get past the second phase of Verzik. But the team of like really good PVMers, started doing much, much better. And they killed Verzik in the second phase. And I remember they killed it. They all freaked out because they thought it was the end of the fight. They were like, holy shit, we beat it. We beat it. And then Verzik falls to the ground and turns into a spider. And they were like, holy shit, there's another phase. And it seemed impossible when it happened that you could actually complete the next phase. That was such a fun time to watch. And then that was the farthest they made it. And then because they made it so far, tons of people were watching their stream. And because so many people were watching the stream, people started getting sloppy. They started like interacting with chat too much. And then they ended up just what do they say about the Tebow? Started noodling. They were noodling. So that sucked. And eventually I think Wooks' team, the content creating team, ended up pulling the W the next day, which was very, very cool. It was really cool to go to bed. And I woke up expecting somebody to have beaten it, and nope, no progress had been made. I was very excited for that. It was the only piece of content that I like set an alarm to get up at 6 a.m. to do. And like I couldn't sleep the night before because I was so excited for it. I think Raids 3 might be the next one. I'm really looking forward to that one as well. But I want to hear what was your what content were you really excited for? And if you don't have one that you can remember where you're looking forward to a piece of content, tell me about a piece of content that came out that got you excited after seeing it. Like I remember logging in one day when I was a kid and seeing the Slayer skill was introduced. I got hyped. Or the farming skill. I remember the farming skill came out and I was like, what? No way. That's so sick. Yeah, Theater of Blood for me for sure. That was pretty great. I wonder if we're going to get RuneFest or a Summer Summit this year. It's going to be happening soon if we are. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for calling in. Thanks so much for listening. I got to do some housekeeping before we get on out of here for today. So I want to shout out, we have a Clan Wild. If you want to join us in game, we have a Discord, The Wilderness, discord.gg/thewilderness. Our email is thewildernesspodcast@gmail.com. If you want to call into the show and leave us a message, it doesn't have to be for the question of the week. It can be for whatever you want. There's a link in the description of this episode. Feel free to click it and it will bring you to a recording. God, I guess that's it. Our song of the week is going to be... God, how this one goes so long solo? I thought it was going to be a little bit quicker. Let's do Roots and Flutes. That's a fun name. This is by Dan Atkinson. This is a song unlocked during the fight with Bryophyta. In order to access her lair, you must obtain a mossy key dropped by moss giants. It was originally released in 2007 during the quest Back to My Roots. Okay, no, I thought Bryophyta existed in RuneScape 3. Nope. The original version of the song includes ambient jungle sounds, which are removed in the old school RuneScape version to go with the change of setting to within a cave. Rip to the jungle sounds. Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully Heartless is feeling better for next week, and then he will be joining as well. And yeah, we'll see you guys on episode 209.